You either start paying rent, Aaron, or get the fuck out of my apartment. Josh's voice wasn't raised. That was worse somehow. It was sharp, controlled, loud enough for everyone in the living room to hear but calm, like he'd been rehearsing this moment. Perfecting it. He stood there with his arms folded, flanked by two of his friends. They were smug, quiet, sipping beers like they were watching a show. Nobody said anything. Not even me. You're 26, jobless, and living off scraps. What do you even do all day? He laughed, not a real laugh, the kind meant to hurt. Seriously, you've been here 6 weeks. What are you, some kind of leech? The word hung in the air. Leech. I didn't yell. Didn't defend myself. Didn't explain that I'd been buying groceries, cleaning, staying invisible. That I'd lost my job through layoffs, not incompetence. That 6 weeks ago, when I'd called asking for help, he'd said family helps family before making me feel like a burden every single day since. I just stood up. Walked upstairs to the guest room where I'd been sleeping. Started packing my things in silence. Not one person followed me. Not my brother. Not his girlfriend who I'd known since high school. Not the friends who'd eaten food I'd bought just hours earlier. By the time I closed the apartment door behind me, bag over my shoulder, I could already hear the laughter resuming downstairs. Like I'd never existed. Like humiliating me was just entertainment between poker hands. I walked to my car in the dark and sat there for 20 minutes before I could drive. Not crying. Just numb. My name is Aaron Carter. I'm 26 years old. Born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm the youngest child in a family where being the responsible one never meant being respected, just used. The one who got good grades while Josh partied. The one who worked 2 jobs through college while he dropped out and dad paid his rent anyway. The one who always showed up, always helped, always tried. Josh is my older brother. 31. Loud, proud, dad's favorite since the day he was born. Never had to work for anything. Never had to prove himself. Just coasted on being the firstborn son in a family that valued that above everything. I've been working since I was 15. Saved my own money for college. Paid my own bills. Built my own life quietly while Josh built his personality around being dad's golden boy. And while he was standing in his living room calling me a leech in front of his friends, I was sitting on a truth that would completely destroy his ego and his fake kingdom. But I didn't know it yet. That revelation was 3 days away. When I lost my job, I didn't ask for much. Just a couch. A few weeks to get back on my feet. I had savings, but Cleveland rent was brutal and I needed time to job hunt without burning through everything. Josh acted like he was doing me this huge favor. Family helps family, he kept saying. But he made sure I never forgot I was less. Called me squatter more than he called me by my name. Made jokes about me being unemployed. Loudly discussed my failure to launch with his girlfriend while I was in the next room. I paid for groceries. Cleaned the apartment. Did his dishes. Stayed out of the way. Applied to jobs in coffee shops so I wouldn't be in his space. It was never enough. He'd come home from his sales job, the one dad had gotten him through connections, and immediately start listing everything I'd done wrong. Left a glass in the sink. Took too long in the bathroom. Existed too loudly. His friends came over constantly. They'd drink beer and play video games and make comments about Josh's charity case. I'd stay in my room, headphones on, trying to become invisible. I lasted 6 weeks before he decided even that was too much. 6 weeks of humiliation that ended with that word, Leech. The apartment building we grew up in felt like it had always been Josh's destiny. 3 stories. 6 units. Built in the 1940s, renovated badly in the 80s. Our grandfather had bought it decades ago, back when you could still buy property in Cleveland without selling a kidney. We'd lived in the largest unit when I was a kid. Played in the shared backyard. Knew all the tenants. Grandpa used to let me help collect rent when I was little, I'd knock on doors and he'd stand behind me, smiling. "Property is responsibility," he used to say. "You take care of it, it takes care of you." Josh never helped. Never wanted to. But Dad always told him, "One day, son, this'll be yours." He never said that to me. After Grandpa died 5 years ago, Dad took over managing the building. Josh moved into the second-floor unit. Best apartment, corner windows, recently renovated. He bragged constantly that he'd inherit the whole thing because he was the responsible one. Never mind he hadn't paid rent in 3 years. Never mind Dad covered his utilities. Never mind the building manager did all the actual work. Josh just lived there, rent-free, calling it his and waiting for Dad to make it official. I assumed he was right. Why wouldn't I? Dad had made it very clear his son mattered more than his daughter. The building was just another example. 3 days after I left Josh's apartment, I was staying in a cheap motel and sending out resumes when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Miss Erin Carter?" "Yes?" "My name is Robert Winters. I'm the attorney handling your late grandfather's estate. We've been trying to reach you for several months." My stomach dropped. "Grandpa died 5 years ago." "Yes." The probate process was complicated. There were some disputed claims that needed to be resolved. "But everything is finalized now and I need to discuss your inheritance." "My inheritance?" "I thought everything went to my dad." "Actually, no. Your grandfather's will was very specific. He left the entirety of Carter Properties, including the apartment building at 847 Lansing Avenue, to you. You are the sole legal heir. The deed has been held in trust pending probate resolution, but it's ready to transfer to your name." I sat down on the motel bed. "What? You own the building, Miss Carter." "You always did." "Your grandfather's will was filed 2 months before his death, properly notarized and witnessed. I have all the documentation here. Can we meet to finalize the transfer?" I couldn't speak. My throat had closed. Because the lie I'd been fed for 5 years, that Josh would inherit everything, that I wasn't important enough, that property was for sons not daughters, cracked open in a single sentence. "Miss Carter?" "Yes." "When can we meet?" The meeting was the next day. Attorney Winter's office was downtown, modest but professional. He laid out documents across his desk like he was presenting evidence. "Your grandfather revised his will 8 weeks before his passing. Previous version split everything between your father and uncle. This version specified that Carter Properties, the building, goes entirely to you." "Why me?" He left a letter. "Would you like to read it?" He handed me an envelope. Grandpa's handwriting on the front, "For Erin, when she's ready." My hand shook opening it. "Erin. If you're reading this, I'm gone and you're finally old enough to handle what I'm leaving you. The building isn't just property, it's responsibility. It's work. It's dealing with problems and people and pipes that break at 2 a.m. Your brother doesn't understand that. Your father doesn't either, really. They see property as status. You see it as something that needs care. I watched you grow up. Watched you work for everything while Josh coasted. Watched you show up and help and learn. You're the one who helped me collect rent. Who asked questions about maintenance. Who actually cared. That's why the building is yours. Not because you're my favorite. Because you're the one who'll actually take care of it. And the people who live there. Don't let your father tell you different. Don't let Josh bully you out of it. This is yours. It was always going to be yours. Love, Grandpa." I read it 3 times. Tears blurring the words. "Your father was notified when the will was filed," Mr. Winters continued. "He disputed it. Claimed your grandfather wasn't of sound mind. That's what delayed probate." "Did Dad win?" "No. Your grandfather had medical evaluations, witness statements, everything properly documented. The will is ironclad. But your father did successfully argue that you shouldn't be notified until probate was complete, claimed you were abroad and difficult to reach and notification might cause unnecessary stress. I was in Cleveland the whole time. I suspected as much. But legally, he had the right to manage the trust until probate resolved. Now it's done. The building is yours. All I need is your signature. I signed everything. Deed transfer. Title documents. Tax records. It took 2 hours and felt surreal the entire time. Mr. Winters walked me through everything. The building was currently managed by a property management company Dad had hired. Financially, it was stable, not hugely profitable, but covering costs with some income. Though I should mention, Mr. Winters said carefully, there are some irregularities in the rental records. Several units show no lease agreements on file. No payment history. Which units? He pulled up a spreadsheet. Unit 2B, Josh's apartment, hadn't had a formal lease in 3 years. No rent payments recorded. Nothing. Your brother has been living there rent-free? Appears so. Technically, he's been in violation of the property management agreement. You'd be within your rights to require a lease or ask him to vacate. I stared at the screen. Josh had called me a leech while living rent-free in an apartment I apparently owned. The irony was stunning. What do I need to do? I asked. First, I'd recommend replacing the property management company. They should have caught these issues. Then review all leases, address any violations, and establish proper procedures going forward. Can I do that immediately? You're the owner. You can do whatever you want. I replaced the property management company that week. Hired a firm recommended by Mr. Winters, professional, no connections to my family, clear about documentation and rules. They conducted a full audit. Found exactly what I expected. Josh's unit had no lease, no payment history, utilities paid by building expenses that were really just Dad funneling money through unclear accounting. 3 other units had similar issues, friends of Dad's or Josh's, living at below market rates with informal arrangements instead of proper contracts. The new property manager, Maria, was blunt, "This is a mess. Whoever managed this before either didn't care or was deliberately avoiding proper documentation. Can we fix it?" Yes. But it'll upset people who've been getting favorable treatment. I don't care. Fix it. We drafted new leases for everyone. Market rates. Proper terms. Security deposits. Everything by the book. For Josh's unit, Maria recommended something else. Given the complete lack of documentation and the length of time without payment, you could pursue back rent or simply require him to sign a new lease at current market rates. If he refuses, you'd have grounds for eviction. Let me think about it. I wasn't ready to burn bridges yet. Or maybe I just wanted to see his face when he realized what had happened. The letter arrived at Josh's apartment on a Tuesday afternoon. Professional envelope. Official letterhead. Hand-delivered by Maria. Notice of property ownership transfer and request for lease compliance. Josh opened it during a poker night. I know because Maria texted me, letter delivered. Recipient seemed surprised. I waited 2 hours. Then I drove to the building, my building, and used my key to enter through the back. Stood in the hallway outside Josh's door. Could hear him inside. Who the hell is Aaron Carter, landlord? Is this a joke? Dude, it says right here she owns the building. That's impossible. My dad owns this building. It's going to be mine. Says here it transferred from a trust. Legal and everything. Long silence. Then, this is bullshit. Some kind of scam. I didn't knock. Didn't announce myself. Just listened to him trying to figure out what had happened, his voice getting louder, more frantic. Finally, I left. The silence was enough. He showed up at my motel 2 days later. Banging on the door at 9 p.m. I opened it. He was furious, face red, hands shaking. What the fuck is this? He shoved the letter at me. You think this is funny? You think you can kick me out of my own house? It's not your house, Josh. It never was. Dad said. Dad lied. Grandpa left that building to the family. Grandpa left that building to me. Specifically. There's a will. Legal documents. A letter explaining exactly why he chose me and not you. That's impossible. I pulled the deed from my bag. The new one, with my name in black ink. Handed it to him. He stared at it. Looked at me. Back at the paper. This is fake. Call the attorney. Robert Winters. His number's on the letterhead. He'll confirm everything. Dad's going to fix this. Dad tried to fix it. Spent 5 years fighting it in probate. He lost. The building is mine. Legally. Permanently. He threw the papers across the motel parking lot. You're doing this because I kicked you out. This is revenge. No. This is inheritance. The revenge is just a bonus. I'll fight this. With what? You have no lease, no payment history, no legal standing. You've been squatting in my property for 3 years. If anyone should be calling anyone a leech, it's me. His face went from red to pale. You wouldn't. Wouldn't what? Enforce basic landlord-tenant laws? Require you to actually pay rent like everyone else? Why wouldn't I? Because I'm your brother. You called me a leech in front of your friends. Kicked me out with nowhere to go. Made me feel worthless for 6 weeks. You're my brother when it benefits you. Rest of the time, I'm just the family failure. Aaron. You have 30 days to sign a lease at market rate or vacate. Your choice. I closed the motel door. Heard him standing there for a full minute before he finally left. Dad called the next morning. I was expecting it. Aaron, we need to talk about this building situation. No, we don't. It was complicated. Grandpa's will, there were issues. We didn't think you'd want the responsibility. You mean you didn't think I'd fight for it? That's not fair. What's not fair is you spending 5 years trying to overturn Grandpa's will. What's not fair is telling Josh the building would be his when you knew it was mine. What's not fair is hiding the truth and calling it protection. Silence. Then, you're not going to ruin your brother's life over this, are you? Ruin his life? I'm asking him to pay rent. Like every other adult in America. He can't afford market rate. Then he can move somewhere cheaper. Or get a better job. Or do what I've been doing, work for what he needs. He's your brother. He tried to ruin mine, I interrupted. Called me a leech. Humiliated me. Threw me out. And all while living rent-free in an apartment I owned. So forgive me if I'm not sympathetic. This is going to tear the family apart. The family tore apart when you chose Josh over me. Every time. For 30 years. I'm just making it official. I hung up. Blocked his number. Josh didn't sign the lease. Instead, he doubled down. Started trashing common areas. Left garbage in the hallways. Harassed other tenants, asking if they knew his crazy sister was trying to steal his home. One tenant, Mrs. Chen on the first floor, called Maria, the man in 2B spray painted something on the landlord's parking space. Should I call the police? Maria sent me a photo. The word traitor in red paint across my designated spot. Do you want to press charges? Maria asked. Not yet. But document everything. Photos, witness statements, dates, and times. Over the next 2 weeks, Josh's behavior escalated. Loud parties at 2 a.m. Yelling at tenants. Banging on walls. Classic intimidation tactics. Every incident got documented. Security camera footage. Written complaints. Time-stamped records. Finally, Maria said, "You have more than enough for eviction. Multiple lease violations. Harassment. Property damage. And he's still not paying rent. He's giving you the evidence you need. Send the 30-day notice." "You're sure?" "Completely." The eviction notice was served on the last day of Josh's 30-day deadline to sign the lease. Since he hadn't signed, he was officially a holdover tenant with no legal right to stay. The notice was clear: vacate within 30 days or face legal eviction proceedings. Josh lost it. Called me 17 times that day. I didn't answer. Showed up at my new apartment. I'd moved out of the motel into a decent one-bedroom near downtown. Banged on the door until neighbors threatened to call police. I opened the door a crack, chain engaged. "You can't do this. I've lived here for 3 years. Without a lease or paying rent. That's called squatting. Dad said it was fine. Dad didn't own the building. I do. And I'm saying it's not fine. Please, Aaron. I don't have anywhere else to go. You should have thought about that before you kicked me out with nowhere to go. I'm sorry. I was angry, I didn't mean. You called me a leech in front of your friends. You humiliated me for 6 weeks. You made me feel like I was worthless. Now you want sympathy? I'm your brother. Then act like it. Pay your rent. Follow the rules. Treat people with basic respect. Until then, you're just another tenant violating the lease." I closed the door. 30 days later, Josh still hadn't left. Sheriff's deputies arrived at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday to enforce the eviction. I wasn't there, Maria handled it. But she called me when it was over. "It's done. He's out." Made quite a scene though. What kind of scene? Yelling about family, blood, inheritance. Said this was his building and you stole it. Deputies weren't sympathetic. They've seen it before, someone living rent-free somewhere they don't own throwing a tantrum when rules finally apply. Did the neighbors see? Everyone saw. Several came out to watch. One even thanked the deputies for finally dealing with him. Apparently he's been a terrible neighbor. I felt something loosen in my chest. Relief, maybe. Or just the satisfaction of consequences finally catching someone who'd avoided them his entire life. What about his stuff? Moved to storage. He has 30 days to claim it or it's considered abandoned. Josh moved in with a friend across town. Word spread fast through the old neighborhood, the golden boy had no gold left. I cleaned out Unit 2B myself. Spent a weekend going through the space Josh had occupied for 3 years. Beer-stained carpet. Holes in the walls from thrown controllers during video game rage. Dishes crusted with month-old food. Bathroom that looked like it hadn't been cleaned in years. I ripped out the carpet. Patched and painted walls. Replaced appliances. Made it clean, bright, livable. Then I did something different. Instead of renting it out, I converted it into a shared workspace for tenants. Desks, chairs, fast Wi-Fi, a coffee machine, bookshelves. A place where people could work remotely, study, build something. The tenants loved it. Within a week, it was the most used common space in the building. Mrs. Chen started using it for her online tutoring business. The college student on the 3rd floor studied there every afternoon. The graphic designer in 1A used it for client meetings. The building felt different. Lighter. Like removing Josh had removed a weight everyone had been carrying. 6 months after the eviction, I ran into Josh at a gas station. Completely by accident, I was filling up, turned around, and there he was. He looked different. Thinner. Tired. Hair longer, not styled. The cocky confidence completely gone. "Aaron." "Josh." Awkward silence. I kept pumping gas. He stood there, hands in his pockets. "You really went through with it," he finally said. Not angry. Just defeated. You really thought you could treat me like garbage and keep everything. I was angry. So was I. I just used it better. He flinched. That's cold. That's honest. You spent 6 weeks making me feel worthless. Called me a leech while living rent-free in property I owned. You want me to feel bad about enforcing basic consequences? I lost everything. No. You lost things you never actually had. The apartment wasn't yours. Never was. You just thought it was because Dad let you believe it. Where am I supposed to go? Figure it out. Like I had to when you kicked me out. Like everyone else who doesn't have family paying their way. The pump clicked. Tank full. I replaced the nozzle, tightened the cap. For what it's worth, Josh said quietly, I am sorry. About how I treated you. You didn't deserve that. I looked at him. Really looked. Saw something different, not just defeat, but maybe awareness. The beginning of understanding. You're right. I didn't deserve it. But thank you for saying it. Does that mean? No. Apology doesn't undo consequences. You made choices. Now you live with them. I got in my car. Drove away without looking back. I never wanted revenge. Not really. I just wanted respect. But sometimes you don't get to choose what you inherit. Sometimes you inherit silence. Pain. Anger. Years of being dismissed and devalued and treated like you don't matter. And a building full of people who thought you'd never fight back. I sit in the small office at the front of the building now. It used to be storage. I turned it into actual workspace, desk, filing cabinets, a decent chair. Place to handle building business. Tenants drop by regularly. Rent is fair. Heat works. Roof doesn't leak anymore, I had it repaired immediately. There's a system for maintenance requests. Problems get fixed. Mrs. Chen brings me tea sometimes. You're a good landlord, she told me once. Better than before. Than my dad? Than anyone. You actually care. On the wall behind my desk, I framed something. Grandpa's old workshop had a quote he kept taped above his tool bench. I'd taken a photo of it years ago, never knowing why it mattered. Now I did. Respect is earned. But ownership? That's written in ink. Beneath the quote, I hung the deed. My name. My signature. Official seal. Not Josh's. Not Dad's. Mine. Dad tried reaching out eventually. Emails. Letters. Messages through relatives. All variations of the same thing, can we talk? Let's fix this. Family shouldn't be like this. I didn't respond. Because family shouldn't be like this. He was right about that. Family shouldn't lie. Shouldn't play favorites. Shouldn't let one child humiliate another for entertainment. But it was. And he'd made it that way. Josh I heard about through the grapevine. Working retail. Living with roommates. Struggling but surviving. Part of me felt bad. Small part. The part that still remembered being kids, before he became Dad's golden boy and I became the afterthought. But mostly I felt nothing. He'd made his choices. Now he lived with them. Same as everyone else. A year after taking over the building, I expanded. Bought a second property, another small apartment building, for units, foreclosure sale. Used rental income from the first building as down payment. Got a business loan for renovation. Did most of the work myself with help from contractors I'd met through the first property. 6 months later, it was occupied. Good tenants. Fair rent. Properly managed. I was building something. Slowly. Carefully. Not flashy. Just real. Started a small property management business. Other small landlords hiring me to handle their buildings because I actually cared about doing it right, Turns out Grandpa was correct. Property is responsibility. But if you take care of it, really take care of it, it takes care of you. 21. 2 years after the eviction, I got a letter. From Josh. Handwritten. 3 pages. Apology. Real apology. Not the sorry you're upset kind, actual acknowledgement of what he'd done wrong. How he'd treated me. What he'd taken for granted. I didn't understand what you went through. Didn't see how differently Dad treated us. Thought I'd earned what I had when really it was just given to me. I'm working on being better. Not asking for forgiveness. Just wanted you to know I finally see it. I read it 3 times. Felt something shift. Not forgiveness, not yet. But acknowledgement. The beginning of something. I wrote back. Brief. Thank you for the apology. I appreciate the honesty. I'm not ready to rebuild anything yet. But I'm not completely close to it either. Just need time. Sent it. Put the letter in a drawer. Maybe someday. Maybe not. Either way, I was okay. The shared workspace in Unit 2B became something unexpected. Tenants started calling it the Carter Commons. Started hosting events there, book clubs, game nights, skill-sharing workshops. The graphic designer taught design basics. Mrs. Chen taught Mandarin. The college student organized a tutoring program for neighborhood kids. The building became a community. Not just a place people lived, a place they belonged. You built something special here, Maria told me once. Not just maintained property. Actually created something. I just gave people space to build it themselves. That's harder than you think. Most landlords just collect rent. Maybe. But Grandpa's letter was right. The building wasn't just property. It was responsibility. It was caring. Josh could have had this. If he'd ever seen tenants as people instead of just rent checks. If he'd valued community over status. But he hadn't. So I did. 3 years after taking over, I made enough to quit my day job. Property management became full-time work. 4 buildings now. 23 units total. Small operation, but profitable. Sustainable. I hired Maria full-time. Hired a maintenance contractor on retainer. Built a team of people who cared about doing things right. Grandpa would have been proud. That thought hit me randomly one day while reviewing lease renewals. He'd trusted me with this. Believed I'd figure it out. Left me everything because he saw something in me nobody else did. I was finally proving him right. 5 years after the eviction, Josh and I had coffee. First time we'd spoken beyond written messages in years. He looked better. Healthier. More settled. Working as a sales manager, actually working, not coasting on connections. You look good, I said. You too. Successful. I'm doing okay. We talked carefully. Neutral topics. Weather. City changes. Mutual acquaintances. Finally, I saw the article about your property management business. Pretty impressive. Thanks. I'm genuinely happy for you. Not, he paused. Not jealous anymore. Just happy. You built something real. You could have too. Maybe. But I wasn't ready. Needed to fall first. Learn things the hard way. He smiled slightly. You always learned the hard way on purpose. I had to be forced into it. We weren't fixed. Weren't close. But we were talking. That was something. When we left, Josh hesitated. Would you ever consider? I don't know. Not working together, but maybe. Maybe what? Being siblings again? Eventually? I thought about it honestly. Maybe. But it takes time. Trust gets rebuilt slowly. I know. Just wanted to know there was a chance. There's a chance. We went our separate ways. No hug. No big reconciliation moment. Just possibility. That was enough. I'm 31 now. 5 years since I inherited the building. 5 years since everything changed. I sit in my office, the real one now, separate building downtown, and look at what I built. 8 properties. 47 units. Small team. Good reputation. On my desk sits Grandpa's original letter. The one explaining why he left everything to me. I keep it there as reminder. Not of revenge. Not of winning. Of understanding what really matters. Josh thought the building was status. Dad thought it was wealth. I learned it was responsibility. Taking care of people. Fixing things that break. Building community. Showing up when it's hard. That's what Grandpa meant. That's what he trusted me to understand. My brother called me a leech. Kicked me out. Made me feel worthless. Then I became his landlord. Proved everything he believed about me was wrong. But the real victory wasn't the revenge. Wasn't the eviction or the humiliation or watching the golden boy fall. The real victory was building something that mattered. Something that helped people. Something Grandpa would have been proud of. The building wasn't just inheritance. It was proof. Proof that being underestimated is temporary. That quiet work pays off. That respect isn't given, it's earned, one fixed pipe and fair lease at a time. Josh has his life now. I have mine. And mine is written in ink.